Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. There is a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when a woman starts loving you, and most men miss it completely. Not because they are careless, but because no one ever taught them where to look. That moment decides whether she grows closer or slowly pulls away, while still standing right in front of you. Before we go deeper, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like this video. It tells the algorithm, and me, that you're serious about understanding what really happens in relationships, not the surface-level advice you hear everywhere else. Now listen carefully. I'm speaking to you as a psychologist, but also as someone who has watched this pattern repeat itself in thousands of relationships. When a woman begins to love a man, it rarely looks dramatic. It doesn't arrive with confessions or grand gestures. In fact, it often looks like the opposite of what men are trained to notice. Most men think love begins when attraction spikes. More texts, more affection, more sexual intensity. But that's not the beginning. That's already the middle. The moment men miss happens earlier, and it happens internally inside her. It starts when she feels emotionally safe enough to lower her guard just a few inches, not fully, just enough to test what happens. She shares a thought she normally keeps to herself. She reveals a small insecurity without framing it as a joke. She asks a question that isn't logical, but emotional. This is not random. This is a test, and it's unconscious. Here's where most men fail. They hear the words, but they respond with solutions, logic, or dismissal. They think they're helping. What she was actually watching for was something much deeper. Can you hold her emotional weight without trying to control it? When you miss this moment, she doesn't confront you. She doesn't argue. She doesn't explain. She simply takes a mental note. Her nervous system learns something important. This is not the place I soften. And once that lesson is learned, it is very hard to unlearn. If you've ever been confused by a woman who slowly became distant, even though nothing bad happened, this is why. Love didn't disappear. It never fully arrived. The men who don't miss this moment aren't louder, richer, or smoother. They are calmer, present. They don't rush to fix her feelings. They don't minimize them. They stay grounded while she shows a fragile piece of herself. And when a woman realizes, even for a second, that she can do that with you, that is where love quietly begins. When a woman starts loving you, her behavior shifts in a way that most men completely misinterpret. She becomes less performative, less polished, less focused on impressing you. And paradoxically, this is the moment men often assume her interest is fading. From a psychological standpoint, what's actually happening is regulation. Her nervous system no longer feels the need to stay hyper-alert around you. She isn't auditioning, she's arriving. And arrival looks quiet. She may stop replying instantly, not because she cares less, but because she no longer fears losing you in a single pause. She may disagree with you more openly, not to challenge your authority, but to see if your respect is conditional. She may show tiredness, irritation, or emotional messiness she carefully hid before. This is not disrespect. This is trust trying to breathe. Here's the danger zone. Men who rely on attention as proof of affection feel this shift as a threat. They try to pull her back into the early dynamic. More charm, more pressure, more pursuit. Others withdraw emotionally, thinking they've already won her. Both reactions teach her the same lesson. This connection is only safe when I'm a certain way. Love doesn't grow under performance. It grows under permission. At this stage, she's watching how you respond when she's no longer curated. Do you stay emotionally consistent, or do you subtly punish her with distance? Do you listen without defensiveness, or do you make her feel dramatic for having feelings that inconvenience you? Your response here matters more than anything you did at the beginning. Men often ask me why a woman says, "You changed," even when they feel they didn't. What she's usually pointing to is emotional availability. Early on, you were attentive because you were curious. Now she needs you attentive because she's vulnerable. Those are not the same thing. If you remain grounded during this phase, if you don't chase intensity, don't withdraw affection, don't demand reassurance, you send a powerful signal. You show her that connection with you doesn't require constant effort or self-editing. And when a woman realizes she can be real without risking abandonment, her attachment deepens, not loudly, not dramatically, but structurally. This is the point where love stops being a feeling and starts becoming a bond. Most men never notice this moment because nothing explodes. Nothing peaks, nothing feels cinematic. But this is where relationships are either quietly secured or quietly lost. There is a specific emotional shift that happens when a woman starts loving you, and it's one of the least talked about dynamics in dating psychology. Her questions change, not in frequency, but in direction. Early attraction asks, "Do you like me?" Love begins asking, "Can I be myself here and still be chosen?" So she starts probing in subtle ways. She asks how you handle stress. She pays attention to how you speak about people who disappoint you. She notices whether you become colder when you feel misunderstood. These aren't random observations. They are data points her nervous system collects to decide whether deeper attachment is safe. Men often miss this because the questions don't sound romantic. They sound practical, even mundane. And when men respond casually, dismissively, or with bravado, they accidentally disqualify themselves. Here's the psychological truth. Women don't fall in love with potential. They fall in love with predictability. Not boredom, predictability of emotional response. Can she predict that you will stay regulated when she is emotional? Can she predict that you won't disappear when intimacy increases? Can she predict that your kindness isn't conditional? When she begins loving you, she watches less what you say to her and more how you react to discomfort, conflict, stress, vulnerability. These moments reveal the man behind the charm, and charm stops mattering here. This is where ego becomes dangerous. Men who feel tested often push back. They assert dominance, shut down emotionally, or turn the conversation into a debate. To them, it feels like maintaining control. To her nervous system, it feels like a warning. Love requires emotional leadership, not emotional control. When you can stay open without over-explaining, calm without detaching, firm without becoming rigid, you create something rare. You become someone she can lean into instead of brace against. And here's what most men don't realize. When a woman senses she can rely on your emotional presence, her attraction doesn't just stay, it reorganizes around you. You stop being one option among many and start becoming home. This doesn't happen because you demanded loyalty. It happens because your consistency allowed her body to relax. Men who miss this moment often say, "She never told me she needed that." And they're right, she didn't. Because the moment she has to explain it, she's already preparing to detach. Love isn't lost through big mistakes. It's lost through small misattunements that repeat until her system decides it's safer not to go deeper. When you understand this, you stop chasing love and start becoming the place it wants to stay. Another subtle signal appears when a woman starts loving you. Her investment in you shifts from surface-level interest to emotional attunement. Early on, she invests to be seen, to test if you're attracted. But when love begins, she invests to know you, to understand the real you beneath your defenses. She listens differently, not just hearing words, but noticing the pauses, the inflections, the emotions you might not even recognize yourself. She begins to track patterns, your moods, your triggers, what makes you retreat, what makes you feel safe. And she does this quietly, without drama. That's why most men don't notice. They're too busy reading for attention, for signs of desire, for validation. They miss the shift from performance to presence. Her caring becomes strategic. She doesn't ask to control you. She asks to adapt, to meet your rhythm. She will notice when you need space before you even realize it, or when you need support without having to voice it. She'll anticipate without expectation, and she'll sometimes push boundaries subtly, not to provoke, but to see if you can remain emotionally consistent when her emotional volume changes. Here's the truth most men never hear. Love isn't a spark, it's a safe container. She begins to invest because she senses that being herself with you won't destroy her, and she's watching to see if your emotional container expands as she shows more of herself. If it doesn't, she stops, slowly, without confrontation. She just leans back. And that's what drives men crazy. They see distance and think attraction is fading, when really, it's attachment being tested. This is why men who are highly reactive fail here. They feel her subtle withdrawal as rejection. They respond with pursuit, pressure, or proof of value tactics. That's the exact opposite of what's required. What she's looking for is calm, steady presence. The ability to witness her without needing to fix her. The ability to stay grounded while she shows cracks. When you meet this challenge, the shift is monumental. She stops performing. She stops guessing about your reactions. Her nervous system begins to relax, and attraction deepens naturally, beyond looks or charm. Most men never reach this stage, because they chase results instead of showing up consistently. But when a man does show up like this, he doesn't just gain her love, he earns her trust. And trust in her mind is the single strongest foundation for long-term attachment. And trust, once fully internalized, transforms fleeting attraction into a bond that's nearly impossible to break. There's a quiet, almost invisible moment when a woman starts loving you that most men never recognize. It's when she begins to share her fears, not as tests, not as games, but because she feels safe enough to be vulnerable. And make no mistake, vulnerability is the currency of love. Without it, nothing deep can form. She may say something small at first, a passing doubt about herself, a worry about the future, a memory that still hurts. Nothing dramatic, nothing that screams "I'm in love," but your reaction to this moment determines whether love continues to grow or stalls indefinitely. Most men respond with advice, reassurance, or logic. They think they are helping. They are not. She's not looking for solutions. She's watching your capacity to hold her. This is where emotional literacy becomes your secret weapon. When she opens a crack in her armor, the way you respond is far more important than what you say. Do you meet her with calm curiosity? Do you acknowledge her feelings without judgment? Or do you shrink from discomfort, make it about yourself, or try to fix it immediately? Every reaction sends a signal. Every micro-expression counts. Men often underestimate the importance of consistency here. She's not testing you with each word. She's mapping a pattern, trying to see if your steadiness can be trusted. And when you remain grounded, you become a safe harbor in her mind, a rare exception to a world where emotional volatility is common. That's when attraction shifts from a spark to something structural. But when men miss this, they don't get an immediate penalty. She doesn't scream, storm out, or confront you aggressively. She simply takes mental notes and begins to retreat emotionally. Even if physically she remains present, the connection loses depth slowly, imperceptibly, until one day it feels like she fell out of love without explanation. When you truly understand this, you stop chasing gestures or proof. You stop trying to impress. Instead, you focus on your presence, your calm, your ability to carry her vulnerability without collapsing or overreacting. That is magnetic. That is irresistible. That is what turns casual interest into deep attachment. The men who recognize this moment and respond correctly don't just have relationships. They have women who willingly invest in them, who feel seen, understood, and safe. And once that foundation is built, love no longer depends on circumstance. It depends on presence, reliability, and the quiet power of emotional stability. This is why most men miss it. It doesn't shout, it whispers, and only those who are truly attuned will hear it. Another signal that a woman is beginning to love you is subtle, but incredibly revealing. She starts to include you in her inner world in ways she never did before. She shares routines, small habits, or opinions that she usually keeps private. These aren't casual tidbits. They're pieces of herself she's testing to see if they'll be accepted without judgment. Men often think love is about declarations, gifts, or intense displays of affection, but the truth is far quieter. Love grows when she feels she can bring her full, imperfect self to you without fear. She starts letting you in, and with that comes a natural increase in attachment. Every story, every confiding thought, every detail she shares becomes a psychological thread weaving you into her emotional fabric. This is why many men fail. They respond with superficial enthusiasm, or worse, they mirror her openness with empty talk. She isn't testing your charm or wit here. She's testing your emotional resonance. Can you handle her complexity? Can you stay present when her feelings aren't convenient or easy? Can you accept her without trying to reshape her into your idea of perfection? The strongest indicator is how she reacts when you reflect her thoughts back to her with empathy. Does she relax? Does she smile or sigh in relief? Or does she pull back as if she's bracing herself again? These micro-reactions reveal her trust level, her willingness to deepen attachment, and her readiness to allow love to grow. Another subtle clue is how she anticipates your reactions. She begins to notice what makes you feel safe, what triggers discomfort, and what sparks joy. This is her investing energy, not for validation, not for manipulation, but for attachment. She's quietly mapping out whether a future with you is emotionally viable. Most men miss this entirely because it feels ordinary. She just told me about her grocery list, they think. Big deal. But in reality, every ordinary interaction carries extraordinary meaning at this stage. She's giving you pieces of herself she doesn't give anyone else. The men who notice this, and who respond with calm curiosity and unwavering presence, become irreplaceable. They don't force love, they embody safety. And when she experiences this, her feelings shift from infatuation to genuine attachment. This is where most relationships either solidify or quietly fade. Men who underestimate these signals never realize they were passed over. Not because she stopped loving, but because she was waiting for proof that she could trust her love to survive intact in your presence. There's a moment that almost no man sees coming, the moment she starts subtly defending you to herself, and even to others. She begins interpreting your flaws and mistakes differently. Not because she's blind to them, but because her attachment is growing. What once might have annoyed her now feels forgivable. What once would have triggered doubt now sparks understanding. This is a sign that she's moving from casual attraction to emotional investment. Men often misread this. They think, she's making excuses for me, she's softening, she's in love. Partly true, but it's deeper than that. It's her nervous system deciding that you are trustworthy enough to protect her feelings, without needing constant evidence of your worth. She's testing if love can exist in real life, not just in idealized moments. Notice how she frames her words when speaking about you. She no longer feels the need to highlight your flaws to fit a narrative of caution or independence. She begins to frame stories that show patience, empathy, and understanding toward you. She's carefully observing your response too. If you react with pride, defensiveness, or insecurity, the process stalls. If you react with calm, humor, and steadiness, the attachment accelerates. At this stage, men who panic or overcompensate often sabotage themselves without realizing it. They assume that love must be constantly proven, when in reality, love grows quietly, through consistency and presence. She's not waiting for grand gestures. She's looking for reliability in the small, invisible moments. And this is where emotional resonance matters more than attraction or charm. When she feels that her understanding of you is safe, she starts leaning in emotionally. She opens herself to intimacy in ways she has never done before, trusting that her feelings won't be weaponized or dismissed. She begins imagining a future with you without even consciously thinking about it. Most men never notice these signs because they happen under the radar. The changes are subtle, a protective comment, a softened tone, an unspoken patience. But this is the moment when love shifts from potential to permanence. If you can hold steady, remain emotionally present, and resist the urge to correct or control, you become the man she can rely on completely. This is when attachment becomes unshakable, when attraction evolves into loyalty, and when love starts rooting itself deeply in her heart. Missing this moment doesn't mean the relationship ends immediately. It means you risk losing the depth of love that could have transformed everything. Recognize it, respect it, and most importantly, match it with your presence. Finally, there's the moment every man wishes he could recognize, but almost no one does. The moment her love becomes intentional. Not loud declarations, not dramatic confessions, but a subtle, consistent shift in how she prioritizes you emotionally. She begins to include you in her decisions, to imagine shared experiences, and to weigh your presence in ways she didn't before. This is love choosing you, not just feeling for you. It's quiet, but seismic. You'll notice it in small things. She remembers details about your life without being prompted. She checks in when she knows you're struggling. She laughs with you in ways that feel effortless. She isn't performing for approval. She's showing up for connection. And in her mind, she's weighing the value of sustaining this bond, not as a casual option, but as something meaningful and lasting. Men often misinterpret this stage as complacency or comfort. She's acting relaxed. Maybe she's losing interest, they think. But this is precisely the opposite. Comfort is a reward, not a warning. It signals that her nervous system trusts you enough to stop testing and start investing fully. And the way you respond now will determine whether her investment grows deeper or plateaus. This is why emotional stability and consistency are crucial. She's no longer looking for novelty. chase, or excitement. She's looking for presence, patience, and calm leadership. Every time you remain grounded, every time you reflect her emotions without judgment, you reinforce her choice to love you. Every time you fail, every time you react impulsively, you introduce doubt. When a woman reaches this stage, her body, mind, and heart align toward attachment. She seeks ways to support you, to connect with you, and to share herself without fear. And if you meet her there without trying to control, manipulate, or perform, you create something rare, a bond that feels inevitable, natural, and profoundly magnetic. Understand this clearly. Love doesn't always announce itself with fireworks. Often it whispers in subtleties you might overlook. Tests passed, vulnerabilities shared, comfort given. When you recognize and honor these moments, you become the man she chooses, again and again, without hesitation. This is the moment most men never see, but the men who do, the men who respond with awareness and presence, experience love that isn't fleeting. It becomes a force that quietly, powerfully anchors her heart, and ultimately, it's the kind of love that lasts.